welcome to In Bed with Brooke, episode 16. We are starting at chapter 9, and by the looks of it, I think I'll be able to get through the whole thing. So this might be closer to a 10-minute video as opposed to 7 to 8 minutes that I like to keep them at. But yeah, I'm gonna hope to get through chapter 9. So where we left off in chapter 8, we see, the friendship blossoming and the attraction growing between Alexandra and Slater. So now we're going to get started with chapter 9. So sit back and relax and let me tell you a story. Beer. He was in desperate need of beer. And a shower. He was in desperate need of a shower. And sleep. He was in desperate need of sleep. In that order: beer, shower, sleep. Slater hadn't been home in 4 days. He had been playing gigs and working on some new music with Chris. Things were looking up for them. They had been approached by some music executives who could be interested in getting that first album recorded. He was motivated and anxious for something big to happen, but right now he was exhausted and just wanted his beer, a hot shower, and to fall into bed and sleep for a day or two. Slater heard Alex's voice come from her room. It sounded like she was yelling at someone. Thinking she was on the phone, he ignored it and went into the kitchen to grab his drink. He liked how she always kept the fridge stocked with his favorite. He took a long pull of his beer and stretched his neck from side to side. He was beat, but the music he and Chris had created had him on a high. This kind of exhaustion felt good. He heard Alex's voice get louder. He thought he heard her yell, "Stop!" He scowled a little and looked toward her room, listening to what was going on in there, hearing a thump and then a shrill scream. "Get off of me!" Alarm bells went off in his head as the sounds continued, and he ran to her room and threw open the door with a yell. "What the fuck?" Startled, Alex looked at him, tears streaming down her face. "Slater?" she questioned. "Where is he?" He looked around the room, his eyes wild, his body tensed and ready to kick the ass of whoever who had been hurting her. She blinked. "Who? You were in here screaming. It sounded like you were being attacked. Where the fuck is he?" Understanding dawned on Alex and she started laughing, but Slater wasn't in the mood for games. "What's so funny, Alex?" he demanded. She walked to her dresser and grabbed a tissue to wipe her face and nose as she answered him. "I'm sorry, Slater, but you should see your face right now. If there had been an attacker in here, I'm pretty sure that person would be torn to shreds." He glared at her, still not amused. This shot of adrenaline mixed with fatigue wasn't what he needed. The intense look on his face should have scared her, but it didn't. He looked dangerous and sexy. It gave her little flutters in her stomach. "Slater, I was rehearsing. I have an audition tomorrow for a small role in a movie, and this is the scene I'm doing. Nobody is in here but me," she assured him, tilting her head a bit and studying his face. "You were rescuing me?" He didn't answer her. He just stood before her with his green eyes glowing in rage, shoulders heaving with each breath he took. Taking his silence for his answer, she lowered her eyes with a subtle nod. "Well, that's nice to know. Thank you." He didn't say a word to her, turned and stomped into the bathroom, slamming the door behind him. "What the hell?" she whispered. "Talk about temperamental." Shaking her head and smiling a little, she closed her door and put her script away. "Guess rehearsal is over for the night." A little snort of laughter escaped Alex, clapping her hand over her mouth, thinking about Slater's reaction, and puffing up with pride that her screaming was genuine enough to have him bust into her bedroom to protect her. She took a deep breath and turned toward her mirror, indulging in a curtsy. End scene. Slater stood under the stream of hot water, chugging his beer, letting his muscles relax, a little embarrassed that he went tearing into her room to save her. But he thought she was in danger. He wasn't completely comfortable with that feeling. He wasn't sure he wanted any complications right now. He was sure as hell attracted to her, but he knew better than to make any moves because she had made that clear enough. Besides, Alexandra Lorraine wasn't the kind of girl you fucked and tossed aside. She was one you had in your life forever, and he had no room for that at this point in his life. He turned the water off, wrapped the towel around his waist, and went into his room. Naked, he fell into bed and was asleep immediately. He slept all night and through the next afternoon. When he surfaced, he found her in the bathroom wearing a short silk robe, making him wonder what, if anything, was underneath it. Alex had her hair in Velcro rollers and was applying eyeshadow when she noticed him standing in the doorway watching her. "Oh, hi," she glanced at him with a friendly greeting. "Do you need in here?" "No, I can wait." "Sleep well?" she asked with a soft grin. He took a cleansing breath and nodded. "I needed it. 4 days without rest is tough." "4 days?" she asked in shock. "That's crazy, Slater. I could never do that." He smiled at her reaction. "Just living the life." Alex turned to face him, the two of them speaking simultaneously. "Sorry about yesterday. The ice was broken." She felt good about that. "How did your audition go?" he questioned. "I think it went well. I'll know in a few weeks if they're casting me." Slater looked at her skincare and makeup products spread on the counter, pointed to them and asked, "Why do girls use all this shit?" Alex looked down at her supplies with a shrug. "This shit costs a lot of money. And if we girls didn't use all of this stuff, you boys wouldn't like us so much. I don't know about that, he responded, watching as she put on mascara. Why do you use that? To make my eyelashes look longer and thicker. She playfully batted her lashes. What's that? He asked as she dabbed something beneath her eyes. It's concealer. What's it for? He wondered. It covers flaws. You don't have any, Alex. Rolling her eyes at him in the mirror, she dabbed at the concealer with a makeup sponge. You just put it on and now you're rubbing it off? He was confused. I'm not rubbing it off. I'm blending it in. She stopped her stippling, staring at him in the mirror. Are you planning on watching me until I'm finished? Yeah. Why do you use that? He shot out another question as she lined her lips with a pencil in a medium shade of bronze. To make my lips look a little fuller until my lipstick doesn't run. How can lipstick run? He asked in confusion, none of this making any sense to him, though he was mesmerized at the transformation. He had seen Alex with everyday makeup on. He had seen her a hot and sweaty mess after working out and thought she was gorgeous. To see her features accentuated with the colors and the products she was using only made her more beautiful to him. Alex started to laugh, making it hard to put on her lipstick. Slater, she said with a warning in her voice. I'm curious about all this. He stepped closer to the counter, nudging her aside, picking up a tube and studying the brown shade with swirls of gold in it. I can tell. Alex nudged him back and took the tube from him, untwisting the top. Didn't your mom or your sister wear makeup? He shook his head. Nope, it was sinful and not allowed. He watched as she topped her lips with a bronze gloss, his brow furrowed in confusion. 3 different things on your lips, they're all the same color. No, they're not. They're similar and they work well together, Alex defended her products. What's that? He took a few steps back from her, leaning against the door jamb as she applied color to her cheeks. Blush, she smiled slightly to highlight her cheekbones. And that, he watched another brush sweep over something like what she had just used. Contour, Alex replied patiently. It adds some definition to my cheeks. Another powder, he asked as she finished applying her setting powder. This keeps it all in place and now I'm done. She looked at her face in the mirror, making sure she passed her own inspection, aware of him watching her. Alex started taking the rollers out of her hair, her fingers fluffing the strands. She flipped her head forward and backward in one fluid movement, reaching for the hairspray to set her style. Slater slid his hands into his pockets, fighting the urge to run his hands through her hair and feeling those curls sift through his fingers. Where are you going tonight? A little party at my agency. You have a date? Nope, and that's fine with me. No time for that, she said definitively. Good, he thought. He didn't want to think about her looking this good for some guy. He watched her put the finishing touches on her hair with a final mist of spray. You sure go through a lot of trouble to get ready, he observed. You men appreciate it and you know it, came her teasing response. Slater shrugged indifferently as Alex turned away from the mirror and looked at him with a hand on her hip. You mean to tell me if there was a girl in the front row at a concert who wanted to hook up with the lead singer and she wasn't wearing a touch of makeup, you would even look twice in her direction? I would if it was you, Allie, he said quietly, letting the nickname come. For some reason, any time he thought about her, which was quite often, he couldn't shake the variation of her name. Alex's breath caught a little at the intimacy of the pet name, but she chose to ignore the comment and keep the mood light. You plan on putting barefaced women in your music videos? Bare-assed, he grinned, wiggling his eyebrows and winking at her. Alex laughed, shaking her head on the direction of their conversation. And where the hell did Allie come from? Nobody is allowed to call me that. Except me, he decided, saying it again, Allie. I like it. It suits you. It's cute. You're cute. Of all the nicknames that you can choose from, Lexi, Alex, Lex, and you choose Allie? She wrinkled her nose, not sure how she felt about the name, but hearing it from him comforted her. Slater nodded. And I'm keeping it. He smiled widely at her, proud of his decision. He really is handsome, Alex thought. Fine, she realized she didn't hate it coming from him, but trust me, you're the only one who's allowed to use that name. Good, it's exclusive to me. Alex stepped around him and walked toward her room, Slater following her. She turned at her door and put her hand on his chest, laughing and pushing him back. You watched me doing my hair and my makeup, Slater. You're not watching me get dressed. Damn, his green eyes were mischievous as he asked, can I watch you get undressed when you get back? No, she giggled, closing her door firmly in his face. He smiled at the closed door. Damn, he shook his head, grinning widely. I heard that, Alex yelled out, hearing Slater's laugh fade as he walked away and plopped lazily onto the sofa. 10 minutes later, he heard her door open and she walked into the living room. He sat on the couch with the remote control in his hand, settling on Magnum PI for the evening. He let out a low whistle of appreciation at her outfit. With a little twirl, she asked, look okay? He nodded, taking the vision in. Better than okay. Alex stood in front of him wearing a black miniskirt with matching nylons and heels. She had on a cream-colored lace shirt topped with a red blazer she had buttoned at the waist, showing off her subtle curves. As always, her jewelry was simple, wearing small gold hoop earrings. A delicate chain dangled around her neck with a diamond pendant. She wore a simple gold watch and a small ruby ring on her right hand. All right, I'm out of here, she said, looking at her watch and checking the time. Don't stay out past your curfew, dear, he teased. She smiled, pushing her hair over her shoulder. I'll only be gone a few hours, perking up at an idea. You want to watch a movie when I get back? Sure, he responded eagerly. Alex pointed to the movie she had on a shelf next to the television. Pick out one while I'm gone. Is there a porn section? He asked with a smile. She rolled her eyes with a laugh. Sorry to disappoint you there, Slater. No porn. See you in a bit. He settled back on the couch when she left. Their banter about makeup and feeling a connection with her brought him happiness. It eased the tension from when he thought she was being attacked, but he enjoyed teasing her and had fun joking around with her. Alex shook her head, still laughing as she locked the door behind her. Slater presented a pretty gruff exterior, but she could see underneath it all, he was really a nice guy. She looked at her watch once more, suddenly wishing she didn't have to go. Okay, so I went ahead and finished all of chapter 9 for this episode. So this is kind of a pivotal moment because the nickname Allie is very prominent throughout the rest of the series, not just this book, but the rest of the series. Funny little side note on that, this is where writers can tell you where they fight with their characters. I never wanted the nickname Allie, but Slater kept fighting me on that. Every time I would type in Alex or another nickname trying to find something cute and exclusive to him, Allie kept coming to the surface, and I didn't like it. I really didn't like it. But he won. Slater wins a lot. So hope you enjoyed episode 16 of In Bed with Brooke. I will leave a link down in the comments on where you can purchase Set It Free and also Let It Go, the second book in the series. Please like this, please leave a positive comment, and please share it with your friends, and stay tuned for the next episode. Bye.